Alright, what's up guys? So, Force Gaming has uploaded a video titled "The Day Before It Gets Worse Every Day." Honestly, I agree. Like, I 100% agree. Like, it's... Oh, look, the thing is this, all I just want to do is just play the game. I'm like, all this extra stuff, like, I don't care if it's buggy, I don't care if it's glitchy, I don't care what Unreal Engine it's on, I just want to play the game. I don't care what name it's called. Like, it's one of those things where it's, they November 10th, I'm telling you right now, if like November 10th, when that day comes, right? And that game's not out, I think it's I think a lot of people are already upset, but I really think that people, they're gonna be upset when that day does come, and then they're all like, oh, we're delaying the game again because what could be like a reason, like a legitimate, like something that sounds serious, but it's like you guys should have had that stuff fixed a long time ago. Like, I'm trying to think. They'll say something along the lines like, oh, Steam is, there's like some third party application that's no longer allowed on Steam, so we're delaying it because we want to make sure that, the application, we're transferring stuff to a different application, not like Unreal Engine, like how they use that excuse, but they'll say something where it's like, they'll blame Steam, or they'll blame, the publishers, like, they'll be all like, oh, well, yeah, the devs, that's honestly, I think they're like, the devs and the publishers is going to get into it, and then they're all like, yeah, there's some conflict going on behind the scenes, so for now the game is going to be put on hold until we could all, be cool. I'm like, bruh, I don't care, release the game. But anyways, make sure if you guys haven't, go subscribe to Force Gaming for more videos like this. And that being said,
Fantastic released a new gameplay trailer last week for their update.
Oh, is it Fantastic? I thought it was like effing, because Fantastic sounds like, it sounds more unique and different, because Fantastic, I don't know, either way, tomato, same thing.
Coming zombie survival MMO the day before. The footage itself was a tad underwhelming for a game that up until recently was
it looks like it downgraded. I said that when I reacted to the gameplay trailer.
A video covering this gameplay showcase. Yeah, it wasn't great, it seemed bare bones and a bit underbaked, but for the most part it's what I expected. In some ways it was even better than I expected, which tells you where my expectations were sitting at the time. And I figured I've said basically all there is to say about this game in my coverage thus far, so I kind of plan to just settle into wait and see mode, like wait until the November release, or wait until some beta test, or wait until some other major update takes place. You focus my energy on other games and other things that I want to talk about here on the channel. Well, plans changed when people started pointing out some odd things about the trailer, such as a few store-bought assets that they didn't even bother touching up, just plopping them into the game without a single change. The fact that there looks to be a single animation cycle for zombies when they aggro the player. They all stomp their foot in identical fashion at an identical stance before charging. The overall lack of mechanics across the board, a lack of anything going on. Like, where are the...
I didn't know you can do that. I didn't know that you can, like, go to like websites, because it'll probably be like something like Shopify, something like that, where it's like you could go, or it'd probably be like other websites where you could go to and like you can buy. Dang, I didn't know you could do that. That's crazy. I guess like it'll eliminate, having to go. Cause I would like to get in like video game development, and I'm like, bro, like, but I would want to like develop the stuff myself, but I don't know, like it's something where that's crazy. Dang. All right, well, I mean, hey, it is what it is. Like, as long as they're getting their credit for like having an ambulance truck or whatever. But anyways,
they're players. Why are there only 15 zombies in this whole 10 minutes of gameplay? No events or just things happening in the world? Is there anything to do beyond walking, looting, and two-shotting zombies that appear to be basically threatless? But specifically, What most caught my attention and spurred me wanting to make this video was the short sequence at the very beginning of the trailer. Easy to miss, it was only a few brief seconds, but it looked very, very familiar. Turns out it looked familiar because it is nearly an exact one-for-one, shot-for-shot copy of Call of Duty's Black Ops Zombies trailer. Other than the fact that it was made in the Unreal Engine using assets for the day before, everything is identical. The exact same shot composition, the exact same style, the exact same sequence. It is just a straight ripoff, or as some may call it, an inspiration. And that is
that's a straight copy. Like, that is a copy, paste, maybe capitalize one of the letters and stuff. That's wow.
From the very first reveal, the day before has had many inspirations. The immediate obvious comparison when the game was first revealed that people made came from the visuals and the setting, looking quite similar to The Division. Although that one is easy enough to wave off, as it's just a realistic looking game set in a modern day post-apocalyptic city.
But still, I mean, like, it did give me Division vibes. Like, I honestly, because no, like, if they wouldn't have said nothing about like the name of this game and stuff, I would have thought like it was a Division game. I'm like, oh, okay, somebody modded the Division and added zombies in it. All right, that's cool. But yeah, I think even still with the new gameplay trailer, I still see like elements of the Division. So
off of, say, some place like New York or Boston. Unless you're going with some like heavily stylized visuals or graphics, a lot of games in this setting that are meant to look realistic with modern day tech, they're just gonna look exactly like this. So fair enough.
True.
And then there was the logo, which looked familiar at first glance because it's pretty much identical as the font type and styling with this distressed markings as The Last of Us. This was a little strange, but not too crazy. Naughty Dog doesn't own this font after all, but given that
still,
similar games, both being zombie titles, it did feel a
it's like when you see it, then you're like, wow, that's crazy.
Nose, but again, it's sort of easy to shrug off. But really, it was once a lot of the day before's marketing material started coming out, the things seemed a bit too similar to be pure coincidence or just to be referential. Take this shot, for example. You've got a character walking down a city street. It's pretty innocuous, right? Sort of like the visuals and setting, we can write this off because it's just a character walking down the street of a large city. But it's the composition of the whole thing that make it pretty plainly ripped off from the concept art of The Division. The angle of the shot in relation to the road, to the buildings, and to the skyline. The
it's pretty identical.
The stance of the character who's in the foreground, as well as the other character in the background standing similarly right next to a vehicle. It's pretty obvious the inspiration they had when making this concept art for the day before came directly from this concept art for The Division. And there's actually quite a few other examples very similar to this. Some of them less obvious, like this screenshot here of a player being approached by zombies in a police station. It looks a heck of a lot like this screenshot from Resident Evil. I think the one that was most blatantly obvious and really told me they're clearly just ripping this stuff off is this particular shot of vehicles driving through
mud runners
on an incline
or snow runner,
with this dense forest in the background. This is quite clearly straight ripped off by this near identical looking from the game SnowRunner. But it doesn't even end there, because also in that sequence, the second half of it looks to be directly copied from a short sequence from The Last of Us launch trailer, which, just like the COD Zombies trailer example, this is directly the exact same sequence, the exact same things that are happening, the exact same framing, everything is the same. It's one thing to just take inspiration from other games, to reference them or even pay homage. Like if you respect a game and you want to reference it here and there, that's understandable. It happens. It's not too crazy, but it's entirely different.
But how I personally would do that, I would have like Easter eggs throughout the game. So like for an example, if it's let's say for like The Last of Us or something, I'll probably have it where there's like a building where like there's like all the like a post, like all these like different posters and words, but I have it where it's like only like 4 words will light up or something, or like a light will shine above it and things. So like if there is like, so like let's say if I'm walking in a building and then there's like 4 lights that's on, so I have one light where it'll say like last, then the other light will say like then the other light will be like of, and then us, and it'll just be like, then people are like, oh, The Last of Us. Oh, okay, that's cool. That's a cool Easter egg. I'll do that, but I'm not gonna have it where it's like, oh, let me go and copy and paste the cover art, the trailer, the settings, the names, the characters, and then call it the day before. No, bruh, that's not cool.
Different thing if you're just literally straight ripping off the hard work and effort of other development
That's
teams,
crazy.
which is plainly what has been happening here in The Day Before. There are just way too many examples of the marketing of The Day Before that are direct copies of the marketing of other successful games. And there's probably more examples that
and this does, like, now thinking about it, the first trailer that they did release of this game, it did kind of remind me of the first, like, the E3 trailer of when the first Division was coming out, because it looked different, and then when it came to gameplay, and then it was like, that's bruh, come on, man, they're doing it. Nah, that is an exact copy and paste, because like you see the gameplay and it was completely different for the Division. And then that's the same with this. That's wild, man.
Just haven't caught yet. These are just the ones that people have spotted so far. I'm pretty confident that more examples just like this are going to come out in the future. Okay, so they've copied a lot of stuff with their marketing, with their name, with their trailers, all of stuff. We got that, right? What about the game? Well, since I'm making this video anyways, we might as well talk about that trailer, because I do think there's a lot to talk about. So this was 10 minutes of raw, uncut gameplay, which mostly amounted to the character walking around first through these suburban neighborhood, and then
like, I thought it was chill, but now, like, after watching this, I'm like, what game did they bite off of?
City. Now, in those 10 minutes, what they did was a couple of minutes of weapon customization. They opened a few containers, like some cabinets, some vehicles, and some coolers here and there. They shot exactly 12 zombies. I went through and counted them. And then there was one moment when they drank some water, which replenished what looked to be a thirst meter. I was pleased to see what appears to be this raw, uncut gameplay. This looked miles better, and it looked like actual gameplay, unlike a lot of their other previous gameplay trailers. However, this whole thing was very noticeably light on mechanics, on other players, on enemies, and once again, it makes clear that the game's visuals have gotten a serious hit since its first reveal.
Yeah.
So first, let's talk mechanics. There just wasn't a
Yeah, because they probably was like, oh yeah, if whatever they had was originally gonna do, they should have just kept this game on Unreal Engine 4 and released it. If they wanted to come out with a part 2 or sequel or whatever, that's what they honestly should have did. Still release The Day Before, but just put it out on Unreal Engine 4. It wouldn't have made no difference. And then if they're all like, The Day Before second half or part 2 or whatever, they could have called this something else, and then they could have did that. But yeah, that's they just went about things all weird.
Going on. What we saw was walking, shooting, looting, drinking, and weapon customization. That appears to be the extent of what players can do in the game. Mechanics-wise, it's pretty bare bones. I would say that this light level of mechanics, it just feels very dated. It's sort of what we expected from the zombie survival games from like 10 or so years ago. We're talking things like DayZ, H1Z1, and even the absolute mess that was the game War Z. These were games with really simple, minimal levels of systems that you can engage with, which were good enough back in the day because of the thrill that came from engaging with enemies.
Like, honestly, and I'm not trying to, like, disagree with them. I guess I'm just speaking for myself. Like, when you see a lot of the games today where they try to, like, go as, like, just detailed as possible and things, and they try to make it look as realistic as possible, those games sometimes fail. Like, they have, like, a lot of, like, bugs. They have a lot of glitches. And, yeah, me personally, I'm like, hey, more power to them. If they feel like doing that, then, hey, more power to them. But yeah, it's just with a lot of, like, games today, when you see how, like, detailed, like, I think that's why some people, they're like, oh, well, let's try to remaster an old game so we can, I guess, like, test the waters if we want to come out with a new game and stuff. But yeah, I just think that, with a lot of times, it's just games with, like, they're just too detailed, they end up failing. I mean, there's some they can accomplish it, and I think that's like when developers they really want the best for this game. But then there's others where it's like, let's say for an example, these guys, they tried doing that. I guarantee and I promise you, if they would have released this game when they originally planned, but they try to make it as detailed, their game would have been mad buggy and glitchy. So that's probably what they are doing. The spots where it's not as buggy and glitchy, where there ain't no bugs or glitches at all, let's go and have that as the gameplay trailer, and then the rest of the game, we just gonna hide that from everybody.
Combined with these brutal survival mechanics of losing everything if you happen to die, that was fun enough in and of itself. But when you take a look at modern day zombie survival games, they've just come a long way, offering way more depth of things to do. I mean, you got examples like State of Decay 1 and 2, World War Z, The Division, while not a zombie game, is still this post-apocalyptic open-world MMO, where there's a ton of stuff going on, a ton of systems to engage with, and a lot of liveliness to the environment. Heck, even 7 Days to Die, which at this point is like over 10 years old, has way more going on, with like deep crafting, with base building, with tower defense, and tons of sandbox elements. And when you compare these modern-day zombie survival games to what you can do in the day before, which again amounts to walking around, looting containers, shooting, crafting and weapon customization, and eating and drinking, I just think that this...
I think there is, so that's one game that I have been, like, I guess, like, kind of thinking, like, I could see where they'll do something like that, but they still just kind of have it, like, where it looked, because it looked like there's just normal zombies, so it kind of is like if, like The Walking Dead, for an example, so it just kind of looked like it's a Walking Dead video game. And then they'll probably just gonna have it where it's like you do missions kind of like Dying Light, for an example. So I think it probably will be something like that. So they just like, go here, do this, go there, do this, come across some bad people, come across some zombies, and so on and so on.
Base level alone isn't going to cut it. It's just not going to be enough. Now, it can be, like some of these modern zombie games that I referenced do have way more mechanics, but they're also mostly like single or small scale multiplayer, whereas The Day Before is being called an MMO. And if it truly lives up to being an MMO, if there are a large number of players or NPCs in any given server, these extremely light levels of mechanics and systems, they could be enough. The problem is that we really haven't seen any MMO elements. We haven't seen large numbers of NPCs. We haven't seen threatening NPCs. We haven't seen anything related to any sort of events or things happening.
I thought they had some in the first, like, whatever that, it was like the first gameplay trailer, but yeah, I thought they had it where it was like you go into a building. No, he showed it. It was like, I think you go into a building and then you're shooting at some people and then you end up having to, like, I think your like team split, and that's when he ended up on that floor and they had all the zombies and stuff. So I just think, like, right now they're, what I actually think, I don't think they've been working on this game, and I think they'll just kind of work on it here and there, but they're probably like, we have like these investors, we're spending all this money, living it up, having fun. And then they'll just show like things here and there. But yeah, I think something else is going on behind the scenes. And I think that's why we haven't really seen so much. And I think now they ain't got no choice but to come out and release this game. Because like I said, if they don't, it's just, I feel like it's going to be pretty bad for them.
World other again than walking around and shooting, and we haven't even seen other players. We haven't really seen PvP engagements. Let me talk about this. Some of the prior gameplay reveals reportedly were showing PvP, including that very first trailer.
Yeah.
But given by this point how obvious it was that first trailer was just a vertical slice, I'm not convinced that those were real players, and actual game developers have expressed similar concerns. We saw this video where they were
well, it probably was. It probably was just like the the developers and like the people that are working on the game, they're all like, it like some acted out stuff. So it wasn't like, they actually published or did. Yeah, it's just they're like, let's just act out something for the game's sake and then, call it. But
out that the character movement seemed very unlikely to be controlled by a real player, and it was much more probable just scripted AI. And I would say the same goes for that one brief short gameplay video that they released, which reportedly was showing PvP fights. I am also not convinced that those were actual PvP engagements. As of today, they are still calling this game an MMO, but given everything else that's happened with it, I would say we'll be lucky if we get server sizes of like even up to 50 players.
Well, I plan on playing the game single player, so I hope they do have a single player mode. If they don't, they should add it, because I already know, like, when multiplayer games, when they get released and then yeah, they don't do so well. So yeah, I hope they do have like a play online and play offline mode, because you best believe I will be playing offline. So
I'm expecting very, very small scale shared world. The higher they push that number, probably the absolute worse the performance and everything is going to be with this game. And then yeah, the visuals, again, it's clearly not anywhere near that initial showcase, but this is just kind of beating a dead horse at this point. We understand that the game isn't ever going to look as good as it did during that initial teaser,
yeah,
vertical slice. Now, shortly after releasing that 10-minute gameplay video, they actually followed up with this short clip of someone playing the game. Now, I've seen people breaking this down, saying like, hey, this person's inputs don't exactly line up with what's happening on screen. That's certainly believable with everything else that's happened with this game, but I'm not quite confident that this is a like fake live gameplay recording. I do agree though, like with much of everything else, it seems off, and it's possible that they faked this recording, but I'm not exactly sold on that.
What was that one video? That's honestly the vibe that I got from that video. Was it like, it was like some old news story and the guy was like fake typing and stuff. I don't know why I just started thinking of that when watching it.
Hey, could be the case, right? So that was that. I watched the gameplay, was a bit underwhelmed, but at the same time, I thought it was better looking than what I was expecting them to deliver. It really seems like those unpaid volunteers have been working really hard recently to try to put something together for this game. It's actually impressive.
Wait, is that... Well, that's why the game's getting delayed. Those guys are probably working on games that they are getting paid for. And then, yeah, well, like, why would you guys have unpaid developers work on the game? Pay them so this game can come out. That's crazy. If I did hear about that, I forgot. But no, if they never mentioned that before, and this is like my first, nah, bro, you gonna have to pay those people. You can't go and come or have work on a game and then people are not getting paid, and then you think the game's gonna come out on your guys' time with you. No, that game's gonna come out on the time when them developers have free time, and that just don't even make any sense, man. I'm like, that's crazy. That is honestly crazy. Well, yeah, now we all know why the game's getting delayed. If you got developers that are not getting paid, yeah, they're not going to work. They're working on games that they are getting paid for. So
how much better it looks than what I expected them to show us. Fantastic. I think you should give them a raise. Really, I would at least double their pay. One more quick thing though before we move on. A few days ago, people started noticing that a handful of the assets in this recent trailer do appear to have just been purchased from asset packs, as in they didn't make them themselves. Specifically, this light truck collection looks to have been used. The yellow tow truck can be seen numerous times throughout the trailer, unaltered it seems. Every detail looks identical to that from the asset pack. They didn't even bother changing the color, the text on the side, or the front bumper. Even the number of red stripes are the same. It looks like they did pretty much nothing. The only thing that does appear to be different is the driver's side window glass is shattered out, and I spotted this exact truck, by the way, on 4 occasions in the trailer. In 4 different spots, this tow truck, as it is in the asset pack, with the exception of the shattered glass, it's there. They just like copy pasted it all over the environment. And this was just in a short clip, like a 10-minute segment, a fourth of which they spent looting and customizing. They're coming across that one tow truck quite often. It seems that company was pretty busy right up until the start of the apocalypse. Also, from that same collection, we do see this cooler truck. For this, they do appear to have put at least some effort into it. They color swapped the front cab from white to orange, and it seems like they fine-tuned some things when it comes to like the front lights, the bumpers, and the side of it, but it does appear to be from that same truck collection. People have also spotted the asset pack sources for like the public service vehicles, so things like school buses, ambulances, and fire trucks. And I would say it's safe to assume that most, if not all, of the vehicles in this trailer were probably also sourced from asset packs. It's just a matter of finding where they come from. What's more though is it looks like that entire residential neighborhood where the player first explores sourced completely from a single asset pack, that being the residential houses modular packs, which were published by Prop House on the Unreal Engine marketplace, the most recent version of which just went live on December 19th, and this does appear to also be used in this gameplay trailer, which would imply that they have only added these assets into the game in the past month and a half, which makes you wonder, what have they been up to the past 4 years that they've reportedly been developing this thing. Now,
Yeah.
beyond people online spotting the similarities, the asset pack developer themselves has come out to confirm these assets do indeed come from the packs that they made. On December 14th, they tweeted, "I think I can spot some things right here," with an embedded screenshot of the day before. And then just recently, on February 2nd, they said, "Nice to see some of our residential houses assets for Unreal Engine being used by Fantastic in the day before. Excellent use and remix of our work. Great to see." Now, people are also claiming that all of the trash and debris in the gameplay trailer looks to be sourced from this trash props asset pack, also found on the Unreal Engine marketplace, although I am less certain of this.
Right, it's like, if that's, like, honestly, I should develop, like, I didn't know that they had stuff like this. I'm like, I should come out with my own video game, because at least I'll, like, give you guys a date, like, on, like, oh, honestly, you know what? No, I wouldn't even give nobody a date. I'll just be like, yeah, when it's out, it's out. But I'm not gonna lie to you guys, like, oh, yeah, it's coming out this week. And then it's like, oh, well, I'm getting sued by Jim Carrey and Chris Tucker because there's a character that looks like them somewhat. So yeah, the game's getting delayed until like 2052 or something. Like, yeah, it's just it's you know, yeah, I should do it, because I'm like, dang, I didn't even realize they had stuff like this.
As I've not found many obvious examples when I looked, but maybe I need to look a little bit harder. Now, I do want to make something clear. There is nothing wrong with using asset packs in your game. In fact, it is why they exist. Like, people put these packs together for developers to buy.
There's probably a lot of games out there that's done it, but, you know, nobody just hasn't really said anything about it. Like, they'll probably alter it and change it up a little bit, but
it is the entire point of the Unreal Engine and other similar marketplaces. It's basically kind of like freelancing parts of the asset development process. This is not uncommon. In fact, one prime example would be PUBG. Most of that game, when it came out, was just an asset flip. They purchased asset packs, put them together in their game, and it subsequently became one of the biggest battle royales on the market. It's not unheard of. It's not even really wrong in any sense at all. There's nothing wrong with using asset packs. Again, it's why they exist. In fact, as a player, I don't even care if a company is buying most or all of the assets in their game.
No.
If there is a good game,
because if I were to do that, I would 100% give credit to those guys. Like, oh, how could I credit, like in the creators of the props in the game. And yeah, they're like, yeah, I'll do that, where it's like, okay, if it's like a story-based game, or even if it's not, find out some way to give these guys like credit or something, where it's like, you know, if you actually, Easter egg. I'm like, there you go. So I just have it where there's an Easter egg and there's like a book, and you open up the book and it's just all like, oh, creator of all the props in the game. And then it's just, you know, you just go and look through them all, and then yeah, it's all the people's names. So I'm like, they would get some form of credit in the game, but
if it's fun to play, if it mechanically feels good, if the premise is sound and there are good systems, it doesn't matter to me if someone else made the assets. But in the case of the day before, I am not confident in the slightest that the gameplay systems, mechanics, and everything within it, the experience of playing, will offset the fact that they are also apparently just flipping assets on top of it. I think the real thing to consider when we talk about this, because you could point to any one of these and say that's nitpicking, that's nitpicking, that's nitpicking. In and of themselves, none of these things are really a big deal. It's when you add them up. Like, the fact that their logo font is the same as The Last of Us, not a big deal. The fact that they've got screenshots and artwork with the identical framing of existing games like The Division, Resident Evil, and SnowRunner, not a big deal. Store-bought assets which appear barely touched up and just plopped in the world, not a big deal. The fact that they delayed their game a month from launch, not once but twice, the first time to upgrade to UE5, despite which, by the way, the game's visuals degrade with every update, it seems, and the second time because of this trademark dispute. Speaking of that trademark dispute, they reportedly didn't know about this, forcing them to remove the game from Steam, delay the launch by 8 months, and then push back the gameplay reveal, which later, by the way, we did find out, since the entire trademarking process is public, you can go look it up yourself right now, they absolutely knew that this trademark thing was an issue, likely back in August, if not at the latest in November, when they were sent a notice that their trademark was not being approved. And then, just a few days after they say the trademark dispute was the reason for delaying the game and not revealing the gameplay trailer, they sat down and spoke to IGN and said, hey, we were actually planning to delay the game prior to the trademark thing, which then means that that entire statement they published about trademarks being the reason for all those things, that was just a lie. They're like, they sat down with IGN and they were just like, oh yeah, we lied about all of that. We were planning to delay the game anyways. A week later, the trademark dispute is apparently resolved as they're able to now show the gameplay. However, the delay is still necessary and the game still hasn't returned to Steam. The fact that the developer's past work includes not 1 but 2 early access releases that they abandoned shortly after releasing, taking the money and basically running. And the fact that the trailer shots and compositions are identical and in the exact same order as the COD Zombies and the Last of Us trailer. You could point to each one of these individually and be like, not a big deal, not a big deal, not a big deal. And
yeah, but still though, like I guess I can see why some people are saying that this game is fake and it's not a real game. But yeah, stuff like that, I'm like, nah, y'all gotta change it up, be different, do something. Like, alright, so the camera is moving sideways, have it where it's like the camera is moving up and down. The background is or that lighting in there is red, have it where it's like blue or something, but it's like have it where it's the complete opposite, so people are not like, oh, like they're copying from Call of Duty or whatever. So
I would agree, but when you stack everything up one on top of each other, this exhaustive list, it's got to have us stepping back and being like, guys, this is kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
But is it a big deal, really? Like, what's the fuss? After all, this is just an upcoming zombie game from a small indie developer who, as we mentioned, does have a bad history of games, so why are we expecting anything? And we've seen a lot of games come and go on Steam like this, many of which were bad, so who cares if they're copying a bunch of stuff? Who cares if they're using store-bought assets and barely changing them? Who cares if they're constantly lying? Who cares about any of this? Well, a lot of people, apparently, in all my years, 10 plus years on this.
Yeah, it's like, they should have just released the game. It's like, if you are really serious about it, release it and work on it. Don't just, we're going to release like 2-3 updates. No, work on this game until this game has like an overwhelmingly positive review on Steam.
Platform of talking about games. I have not followed a story about a game from such a small indie studio with such a poor history that we should have zero expectations from, that so many people seem to be so invested in. And I think it really boils down to 2 major things. The first is there's just huge interest in this concept, the idea of a brand new, good-looking, open-world zombie survival MMO. A lot of people find that appealing. And the second thing is, yes, that initial trailer looked really good, which got people really excited. Personally, my interest stems not only from, yes, I would like a new game in this genre, but also just by how absurd everything is. Like, initially it was pretty simple. I thought, wow, this is a really good looking trailer for a game from a studio who's not made really good looking games before. That's pretty surprising. But then as time has passed and more has been revealed and more things have come out about the developer, about the game itself, it all has just gotten crazier and crazier. Just when I think it can't get any weirder, it gets weirder at every turn. Something else I do think we should keep in mind is situations like this are gonna happen more and more often in the future, almost solely thanks to how good looking Unreal Engine 5 is in particular. Combine that with the high quality asset market, there will absolutely be more small studios putting out trailers for games that look phenomenal, that are getting people to think this was made by some massive AAA studio, that are almost certainly going to not live up to expectations. Many of them. Some of them certainly will. We will get games by small studios that look great and play great, but we're also going to get a lot of trash. You can pretty much guarantee it. I do see a lot of claims about this game being fake, saying that it won't release, and I understand the sentiment, and I would believe it even if the studio hadn't already developed and published games. Now, they did that, but then they abandoned the first 2 early access releases, and they do have a game up and running on Steam right now. It's not a good game, it's got mixed ratings, but it exists, it is there, and people are playing it. So yeah, I do think they're going to release this thing, right? It's just going to be expected to be garbage. It would be surprising if it wasn't. This thing was supposed to release in under a month. The gameplay that they showed has mechanics equivalent, even less, to zombie survival games that came out 10 years ago. They haven't shown us any real evidence of this actually being an...
I think, though, on March 1st, they should release a demo or beta testing, put in early access, and then, we're just playing, like, just some things, but they should do something, and then, then November 10th, then, have a full release of the game, but the thing is this, the reason why I say release it now is that like the fans can have a say so in like, okay, here's this issue, here's this issue, here's this issue. So by the time when November 10th does come and you guys have like a the full release of the game, then it's like, okay, we fixed a lot of issues. And you know, we are listening to the fans. And yeah, overall, it's like we're serious developers wanting to work on this game and give you guys a great game to play and stuff. So that's what I would do, but I guess I'm different.
MMO, expect bare bones mechanics, expect probably very poor performance. Expectations need to be at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to the day before. You know, in one of their recent statements in speaking with IGN, they compared themselves to the misunderstood 90s action hero, saying that in the end they would prevail, they would make a great game, and they would prove everyone who underestimated them wrong. And I wholeheartedly and sincerely hope they do that.
Yeah.
I join the many people who wishlisted this game, hoping that it would be the next great zombie survival MMO. I have zero inclination that it will actually be that, but if they can pull it off, congratulations. You were, in fact, that misunderstood 90s action hero. That's it for today. Thank you all for watching.
Yeah.
I'll see you next time.
I agree. I'm like, I waited, and I'm like, I'm hoping that the game does come out. If it doesn't, then, you know, hey, I just think that they shouldn't get people's hope. If they talking about like this game's gonna come out and then they come out and some things saying, oh yeah, the game's not coming out anymore, like we've came to a hard decision to make, I'm like, then you guys just take all your games out of the Steam store and don't get people's hopes up high like that. Either release the game or just go, like do something else. But man, it's just, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, you got people out here that really wants to play the game, so it's like, fam, release it, just put it out. We don't care what it is, just put it out. All right, so anyways, but yeah, it's like I would love I'm like, I would sit there and do it myself for free, but if you need somebody to test out your guys' game and give you feedback, I will literally push everything aside until this game comes out, or just so I can ensure that fans are like, when the game does come out, it's playable, it works, there ain't no issues, problems, none of that stuff. So but yeah, hopefully November 10th. Like, if that's the date that they're gonna release it, then okay, November 10th. All right, but if not, then yeah, you guys just need to stop, you know, telling us, oh, the game gonna come out, because it's not. If that's what you guys gonna keep on doing. So, but anyways, make sure if you guys haven't, go subscribe to Force Gaming, like, subscribe to me too, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you guys for watching, and peace.